I'm Heather from booktubes, and today is a discussion and TBR and just kind of talking about The Mummy, the cult classic, the film, what I think makes it work, and what I think a lot of books that are trying to recreate that magic are missing out on. First of all, okay, so here is the order of things that I think make The Mummy work. Number one, everybody is hot. There are so many different types of hot. There's a reason why it's a bisexual awakening like cornerstone in the community, because everybody's hot. There's so many different types of hotness. There's so many different just varying characters, and like they all work. They all work really, really well. Two, banter. Put this one up in all capital letters, okay? Banter. You cannot undersell, you cannot underemphasize the importance of banter in The Mummy and in any story that is trying to be like it. The banter, not only between our main couple, which is peak perfection, okay, and very, very important. There's banter between side characters, and there's banter just all over the place. The issue with banter is you have to be witty enough to be able to write it at a level that translates to so many people. You can't just, make a clever little joke to one person and they get it. You have to have your character making jokes that the mass audience of readers understands and gets and thinks is clever and thinks is funny and thinks is entertaining. Number three, the himbo love interest. He's a little bit dumb. He's a little bit lovable. He is willing to sacrifice himself in the name of love and in protecting the main character. But he's not useless, right? He may annoy the main character, but he's not just annoying. He is that golden retriever. He's not the expert. He might be an expert in one area, but he's not the expert of the story. Number four, the main character needs to have a love of books that is in contrast to the himbo character. Opposites attract. They are not the same at all, but they work together. With The Mummy, obviously Evie is a librarian. I think that this is a underrated. I know that people like to throw a character who likes books into their book, and it annoys people, but when that is truly integral to their character and it is written in a way that you believe it, it's not just thrown in there for a bone or relatability to the reader, but it is who that character is. That character is a reader. That character has a love of literature, whether as a librarian or as an author or just as a consumer, but their love of books and their nerdiness around books is an important part of who they are. And number five, the woman is the smart one. The woman is the expert. She's the one that understands the ancient language. She's the one that is translating. She's the one that's figuring out the puzzles and is putting all the things together. Without her brain, you don't get to the treasure at the end. I think that that is vital to this story type. Number six, it's funny. It has to be funny. It has to be humorous. It has to have humor that works and is a consistent part of the story. If you watch or rewatch The Mummy, it is really funny. The fight scenes are funny. The conversations with the side characters are funny, as well as the main couple talking to each other. These are important factors. With the adventure, with the action, with the romance, you need to have humor in there too. That's what makes it great. Number seven, romance with actual chemistry. And I think a big part of this is that they're not forbidden. It's not super angsty. There's nothing keeping them from being apart. They meet, he falls first. He's more into her than she is into him, but she is attracted to him. She just is a little bit standoffish with it, right? She's not immediately on board, but they are just growing closer together naturally through the adventure, and there's no reason why they can't be together or anything like that. It's just him being so obsessed with her, following her around, and wanting to make her the happiest woman in the entire world, and her being like, all right, I guess you are a little cute. All the way down at number eight, is an archaeological adventure. And I think that this is where people really get it wrong, because they take the Egyptian setting or archaeology or ancient treasure and they put that as their number one building block to recreate this, and it's not number one. All of these other things, to me personally, are more important than your adventure rom-com. You can have your adventure stuff be not 10 out of 10, but if these other elements are 10 out of 10, you have a hit on your hands. You cannot place the archaeological adventure at number one. That's not what makes it great. It's important, don't get me wrong. It's valuable. It adds a lot to it, but it's not the most important part of the story. You cannot simply take a couple, put them in Egypt, have them try to discover some ancient treasure and harness the magic of the mummy. That's not the magic. That's just the setting and the part of the plot that drives the action. So it's important if you're going to have an action rom-com, but the rom and the com are more important. I beg of people to understand this. Number 9, I think that part of what makes The Mummy truly great is Imhotep's tragic love story. Your villains have an undying love for each other. They are focused on reincarnating and being together. 3,000 years later, true love still exists. You don't really want them to take over the world. You don't really want them to kill everybody, but you want them to have that happily ever after. And that tragic love story is part of what makes the entire mythological plot more fascinating. So I think that that's a little extra seasoning on the legend and the treasure hunt and all of that, you know, is obviously pretty important in this type of story. And lastly, number 10, manhandling. Okay, you need a little manhandling. Don't at me. I'm telling you right now, that part of what makes it good is him throwing her over his shoulder and locking her in a room, or they're holding hands and they're running, or, you know, to grab and a save, what have you. It is part of the greatness. It's part of the greatness. I need it. If it's not there, I don't want it. Something else that I do think plays into this is that you have colonization, you have the indigenous people who are trying to protect the site from colonization and from being tomb raided and all of those things. And then you have a mix of characters who are working together. So like your main characters cannot want to just exploit what they're looking for. That's important. So I think the most successful capitalization on The Mummy is actually The Lost City, which is a movie that you should really, really watch if you have not. In The Lost City, you have hot people, tragic love story, banter, himbo, romance writer, she's smarter, they're opposites. It's funny. There is romance with chemistry. There's an archaeological adventure and there is some light manhandling. It hits every single one of the points. And I'm telling you that that is why it works. I rewatched The Mummy this week. I actually rewatched it this morning, and I rewatched The Lost City last night. And I am telling you that these 10 points are part of what make both movies great. Now, when it comes to books, I have been completely unsuccessful in finding anything that filled my desire for something like The Mummy. Here's what I've tried so far, okay? I DNF'd Mr. Impossible by Loretta Chase. The writing was going to be a 3-star at best for me. That's a historical romance with Egyptian adventure thrown in there, I think. I also DNF'd The Other Guy's Bride by Connie Brockway, maybe? Same thing. I DNF'd pretty early on that. The writing was not going to be better than a 3-star for me. It was lacking in what I was looking for. Then I have given Raiders of the Lost Heart by Joe Segura a 3-star. I love the cover. I absolutely loved the premise. However, his mother having cancer is a huge driving force of the book. Their hatred of each other really is based on him being the worst. Like, we're supposed to feel bad for him, but are we? Because he kept like taking opportunities and advantages, and it was very much like white male privilege is a thing and is bad, but that was our hero, so how much did we address that, really? It just was not good. I didn't like any of their conflicts. It really was a huge disappointment for me. It was not good, people. It was not good. What do you want from me? Then I also read Undiscovered, which is Treasure Hunter Security #1 by Anna Hackett. I gave this 2 stars. This was unbelievably mediocre. I forgot to say that this is a romantic suspense. He is a bodyguard. He works for a private security company and ends up with her. None of which were satisfying by any stretch of the imagination. On the TBR, we have What the River Knows, which is Secrets of the Nile #1 by Isabel Ibanez. This is supposed to be The Mummy meets Death on the Nile. I did start this back in December and was really liking it, and I can attest that at least through that part, the banter was bantering. Were they in Egypt? Yes. Was she looking for artifacts and lost cities and blah, 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 blah? Yes, all of that is true. The kind of opposites attract, and her being the one with all of the information and their banter, all of those were there in the part that I read. So looking good. That's the most promising for me. The second most promising is Empire of Shadows, which is Raiders of the Arcana #1 by Jacqueline Benson. I read the prologue of this, I think, several months ago in the sample. This one is not Egyptian. What is this one? I want to say Aztec. This one is almost 500 pages long, so there's that. Victorian ladies, map, mysterious ancient city. You know where we're going with this. Pro-Columbian history. Perfect for fans of Romancing the Stone and The Mummy. You see what I'm saying? Also, the love interest wields a machete. So apparently Romancing the Stone is a movie that I've never watched. I'm pretty sure it came out before on things like The Mummy. There is a book, but the book is based on the movie, not the movie being based on the book, and it is on YouTube. And do not believe the PG rating, because I watched 1 minute of it next to my kid and I was like, all right, I gotta wait till kids are in school to watch this. But it is on my watch list, but I can't give you a review because I won't have time to watch it until after this is up. Next, I have Guarded Treasure by May Lovett. She has to explore an ancient tomb she's only seen in books. You see what I'm talking about here? Arrogant scoundrel who she's partnered with. A classic. So they're in Egypt. It was advertised as for fans of The Mummy, surprising no one. The next one I have is Crocodile on the Sandbank, which is Amelia Peabody #1 by Elizabeth Peters. Victorian age. She's in Egypt, exploring things, botched kidnapping. Oh, and also there is a mummy actually involved. So there you go. Then I have The Promise of a Kiss by Casey Bateman. This is another, I think, Victorian one where they are exploring Egypt. You can't just have the time setting and the geographical location to be worthy, okay? I mean, I'm not saying that that's all it has going for it. What I'm saying is when you search books like The Mummy, that seems to be what people think is the #1 factor, and it's not. It's the banter, it's the adventure, it's the rom and the com. Give me romance, give me humor, I am begging. All right, so he accepts £5,000 to locate the lady in Egypt, and also there's a cursed necklace in the sand. Also, this one's only 122 pages, so you know what I'm saying? We could have a win with a nice short one. And then lastly, I don't have access to this one from my library yet, but Us in Ruins by Rachel Moore, I wanted to mention in this video. This one was also said as for fans of The Mummy. She has to fix a cursed vase, and in the cursed vase is a guy that she has a romance with. For fans of What the River Knows and The Lost City. So I'm going to read some first chapters of these books and come back to you. But, you know, if you haven't watched The Mummy, do that. And if you haven't watched The Lost City, do that. And I promise you this video will have been worth your time. All right, let's start with the first chapter of Guarded Treasure. This definitely reads like someone who wrote a book to be like The Mummy. I do like it so far. She is a librarian. She is half Egyptian, half English, just like Evie in The Mummy. She is going to be working on the site. He's the brawn, she's the brain. He's been digging on archaeological sites for the last 10 years. She's studied archaeology for the last 10 years, and they're going to work together. He's going to be a little bit of her bodyguard, a little bit of her co-runner of the show. They've been hired by the same person and they have to work together. So I really like that so far. They had the right dynamic going between them. Next, I'm going to read a chapter of Crocodile on the Sandbank. So she is a spinster. She's 32. She inherited a large fortune that was unexpected, and she has rescued this girl who was also very wealthy but eloped, and he ended up not wanting her once she didn't have money, and so she was kind of stranded, and now they're going to be companions going to Egypt. I like the writing, but I don't have a lot to say about it as of yet. So we're going to read first chapter of The Promise of a Kiss, and then we're going to be done, at least for today. Maybe with the whole video. Time will tell.
Yeah. Hey. Wait.
Well, now you're shy.
I'm confused. Why is it shows over here gray a little bit?
It's blonde.
But why is the camera so white?
That's how I dyed it.
That's it. I don't know if you dyed yours. What?
All that blonde is dyed.
What?
The rest of it's natural.
I didn't know that.
Mm.
I get it. Cody Rhodes. Who they? No. Hi. I knew for this. I don't know what I'm doing. I'll be right back.
I have finished the first chapter of A Promise of a Kiss. This book is much shorter and the chapters are much shorter, and they are extremely distant, not really related relations. They've grown up together. They have a history together. They despise each other. He considers her to be the last possible thing from a damsel in distress. However, his grandmother is willing to pay him to go get her. So that's what he's gonna do.
Who they?
Watching the Bengals game on Sunday.
Yay! Joe Burrow. You can't eat it right. I don't know.
Yeah, it's flipped.
Let me fix
Mirror
that for
image.
you guys.
You can't. That doesn't fix it. That doesn't fix it.
It fixes a little
No,
bit.
it doesn't. It doesn't fix it at all.
Ugh.
Not at all.
Alright.
Child, tell them bye because we're done here.
Who they? Bye.
Hi, it's the next day, and last night and this morning I did read The Promise of a Kiss by Casey Bateman, maybe? And I gave it 4 stars. Like I said, it is a novella. It's 122 pages. It's not going to be like the biggest hit in the world for you. It's not the perfection that The Mummy is, but if you just want a historical romance with kind of some of the same vibes, this would work, especially if you want a quick win. I will say for this one, just a heads up, there's only kissing in it. Most of the romances that I read are pretty explicit, so I tend to just make note of it when it's not, and it is a actual genre romance. So this one, kissing only, if that works for you. Again, it's not like the best, but for a quick win, just because you're in the mood for this type of thing, absolutely. That's it. I do plan on reading some more of these in the near future, in the next few months. I guess let me know if you want a follow-up video, or if you just want to see in my monthly wrap-ups what I end up getting to. And let me know if any of these are on your TBR, if you've read any of them, if you've watched any of these movies and loved them, and if you have any further recommendations with the same vibes, the same dynamic. We want that very particular dynamic in the romance. That's the biggest thing I'm looking for. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.